The night after Dickie Hart's murder, Ronnie Kray heard that George Cornell was drinking in the Blind Beggar pub. He summoned his friend Ian Barry, and as they entered the premises, Barry fired 2 shots into the ceiling. Ronnie saw Cornell at the bar, and as he approached him, Cornell said, "Look who's here." But Ronnie didn't answer. He pulled out a Luger and shot Cornell through the forehead. Cornell slumped forward and eventually fell to the floor, where he died moments later.
Georgie Cornell was from East London, and he'd gone over to South London to join up with the Richardson firm, and so they felt that he's just changed his loyalties from east to south, you know. I told Ronnie Kray afterwards, I said, "You should never have done that, or gone in that pub. It's like their front room. They lived above it, they had their kids above it, and they'd shot, and Ian Barry shot shots in the ceiling, could have gone up and injured their family upstairs, you know what I mean? And it should never go in a person's house. Should have waited for Georgie Cornell to come out if they wanted to shoot him, and waited, he'd come out and got in his car or something, not in the pub in front of witnesses and other people and barmaids and everybody else." And I said it was a stupid thing to do. And they used to help the Krays. If they were short of money, they'd give them a few quid, you know. And it was a liberty what they'd done. And Georgie Cornell was all right. I knew him and his family, Olive and all their family from South. They was from South London. And they was nice people, you know, good people. And George was all right. I liked George. He was okay. He'd supposed to have insulted him and called him a fat or something like that. You know, I don't know what the truth of the matter was, but Ronnie Kray used to get the hump with people for very little reason, you know. He didn't need a lot of excuses to get the hump with people. And this was a bad thing about him because of his mental state, you know. He wasn't a well person. He wasn't well at all.
The death of his wife, Frances, undoubtedly had a devastating effect upon Reggie. Everybody who knew him says that he became a dishevelled drunk. The Kray empire had begun to crumble. 4 months after Frances's death, Reggie stabbed a man to death in a drunken rage.
A couple of weeks before the McVitie business, McVitie, me and Reggie were in the restaurant in the Regency having supper together. Now, if there'd been any aggravation, I'd have smelt it, you know. Nothing, not a thing. Then, but Ronnie was always screaming at Reggie, "It's your turn, you coward, why don't you do your, I don't mind."
On the night after the funeral, he was in the Regency having a drink, getting rotten drunk, and Jack the Hat came round to shoot any one of the Kray brothers. And I know he's on pilled up, he was always on speed and stuff and like had too much drink, but he went round to shoot Reggie Kray, Ronnie Kray or Charlie, or any one of them. And they had a bit of an argument on the door, and the 2 doormen took the shotgun off him, and the shotgun went off and blew a hole in the door.
He came in the Regency one night, supposed to have had a shotgun. He said, "Is any of the firm in the old blow the fuckers away?" I was down in we had an afters bar right down in the basement, behind upholstered doors and everything. Couldn't hear a sound in there. I said to Johnny Barry, "I'll go up." He said, "No, don't." He said, "He's got a shoot on, he's out of his head." He said, "I'll get rid of him." Anyway, he went.
Well, Reggie was just sitting inside there, up at the bar, rotten drunk at the time. So he had a very narrow escape then. And so for me, that a week later, they found out what happened, and that's the reason they murdered Jack the Hat. Well, they give him money to go and shoot this guy, Leslie Payne, a fella called Payne, who worked for them. He turned out wrong, and he was the first one to make statements to the police, because they sent Jack round to shoot him, Jack the Hat. They give him money to go and shoot him, and he never did it. He took the money and drank it all and bought pills with it, or whatever he did with it, but he never did what he was supposed to do.
The twins were clearly upset with McVitie. So on October the 29th, 1967, they invited him to this house where there was it was just a local house party going on. And prior to his arrival, the twins turned up, told the host to get rid of all the guests. They waited down in the room in the basement, and a couple of other members of their firm were on the stairs. McVitie arrived. He was very drunk, been popping pills all night, so wasn't really, you know, with it.
The Lambriano brothers took him to this party, and when they got him down there, and there was they just fucking challenged him and finished up stabbing him to death.
When he was in the front room, Ronnie Kray grabbed hold of him, and Reggie Kray was meant to shoot him, but the gun he had was duff, you know, messed it up like most things they did. And Ronnie got him in a bear hug, and he was saying to Reggie, do him, I've done mine, you do yours.
Bender got a knife from the kitchen, one of them fucking kitchen carving knives, you know, and he just started stabbing it in the head, the face, stomach, everywhere.
So Reg was given a large kitchen knife by a guy called Ronnie Bender, and he stuck that in McVitie's throat and then started stabbing him in the chest. McVitie fell to the floor, and Reggie continued stabbing him, and in the end he impaled him on the floor by sticking the knife through his throat into the floorboards.
Reggie stabbed him to death. Ronnie was holding him, and this guy, Ronnie Hart, their cousin, was involved in it all, stabbing him and holding him, and it was a messy, really messy job, what they did of him anyway. It took a long time to kill him, apparently. It was a bad scene.
Chris Lambriano had run onto the stairs, was sitting on the stairs crying. His brother Tony had run up the stairs and hid in the child's bedroom. When the Krays had finished murdering McVitie, Reggie said to him, clean that up, and walked out with his brother Ronnie. So the two Lambriano brothers and a couple of other sort of hangers-on were told, you know, scrub the floors, get rid of all the blood. Following the murder, Jack McVitie's body was loaded into Tony Lambriano's vehicle. It was brought here to this street in Rotherhithe and left outside St Mary's Church. The following morning, they contacted Freddie Foreman and asked him to deal with it.
Well, they took him across and dumped him right on my fucking doorstep, round the corner from my pub, and left him there in the back of a car, you know, covered up in a bed, in a fucking candlewick bedspread on the back seat of the car. I mean, what a thing to do, you know, I mean. And there was right outside the church where there'd been a wedding take place, you know. And this is what they did. After that incident, there was no reporting there, you know. No, everyone was missing. He was missing, Jack was missing, Mitchell was missing, Marks was missing. So it was, you know, they was all pointing the finger at me all the time, you know. And of course, there was, you can imagine what was going on in you know, at Scotland Yard and places like that.
Every single aspect of the Krays' lives are surrounded by conspiracy theories and myths. In the late 1960s, this flyover was being constructed, and many believe that the bodies of Jack the Hat, Frank Mitchell, and Ginger Marks ended up being buried here beneath the foundations.
Freddie Foreman has already admitted what he did. Remember, I was very friendly with the Lambriano brothers, so I know the real story of what happened to Jack the Hat. Tony Lambriano did drive the body away with his brother behind him in another car, all the way to South London, parked outside 3-4 o'clock in the morning outside a little church. Fred was told to pick it up, take it away, and he always claims that went to sea, which is quite feasible to me. I've heard all the Bow flyover stories and buried in different graves. There was a man that could melt down stuff, the smelter. I think he took care of another 2 bodies. But I do know the Jack the Hat story, the being out to sea, was the correct one. And they've told me that, the twins and who drove him there.
They used to have a pole. We had couple of breakers yards. You had one over the wall.
Oh, that's right. You did
and you
tell me.
had one at Dartford. He used to break lorries up, smelt Ellie, and he had a big aluminium smelt. And what he used to do, he used to have an old chest freezer. He used to put them in there.
Freeze them up.
Then he'd cut them up
No
and
blood.
put them in the smill.
No blood once
And if
they're
there's any
frozen.
bones left, we used to crush them all up and then go and throw them in the river. And that's how we disposed of the bodies.